All right, we're back. And the Falcons might be back as far as a team that has expectation to do something. What that something is, I haven't quite decided yet. I would place the expectation to making the playoffs on them now that they have a quarterback. They signed Kirk Cousins to a 4-year, $185 million contract, $100 million guaranteed in the first, basically in the first 2 years. If you look at it on like Spot Tracker over the cap, it essentially functions as like a 2-year deal. And I was a little bit surprised, I gotta say, at how negative people were towards this deal. Because look, let's keep it real. I would love to get my hands on like Drake May if he fell. I'm not really convinced that he's fallen all that far. Too many teams need a quarterback. And I think if you're going to be a team that trades up this year, it's going to cost you a ton. Because like if you're the Commanders and I think we can assume Caleb goes number 1. You're sitting there at number 2 with your choice of Drake or Jaden Daniels or JJ McCarthy if you're a statist. And you can kind of sit there. I'll try to get to know that laughing. but
you're keeping it together so well. You
I
really
know.
were.
I was so close. I was so close. But, right now, like they're walking into the draft with Marcus Mariota and Sam Howell as their quarterback options just on the roster. They just signed Marcus Mariota today to a backup contract. They're taking a quarterback. If you're running the Commanders, how much would it cost you for you to move off of the number 2 pick right now? Like everything, pretty much. Because we all know at the end of the day, teams have decided that these quarterbacks are so valuable, they're willing to trade 3 first-round picks to have the opportunity to draft like a 20-year-old. And you're a team that needs a quarterback. So how much would it cost you to move off number 2?
I think it's more likely that Washington trades up to number 1 than they trade back from number 2. I really do. Like, I think that Washington, I don't know this for sure, but this is just what I believe. I think they've already sent Chicago probably multiple iterations of a trade of like, we're going to make you say no to this, right? Like, we're going to make you say no to this. Now, it's not going to be egregious because you're only moving up 1 spot, but Caleb played high school ball right outside of DC, right? I mean, like new ownership, new coaches, new regime, like it's a new everything. There couldn't be a better storybook start for the new ownership in Washington than getting up to number 1 and getting Caleb Williams. But if you don't get him at number 1, I don't, every team has a price, obviously, but like, I don't even know if 3 first-round picks and a couple of day 2 picks can really force you to move off of 2. Because what are you going to do? You're just going to,
I'd rather have the quarterback.
Right. And that's the thing. If there were major doubts about Drake May specifically, okay, maybe you entertain that. Like if it was Caleb and then a big drop off, sure, I get it. But I watched Drake May and I'm a little confused why there's so much pushback on May not being the consensus guy at number 2 overall. And I don't say that to necessarily take anything away from Jaden Daniels, but when people talk about why May might not go number 2, it sounds really nitpicky. It really, and it's like, dude, there have been so many other quarterbacks that it feels like have been picked high for less talent than what this dude has showed over the last 2 years. So just to get back to answering your question, because I think so highly of him, even though it's not Caleb Williams, you still have the opportunity to start completely fresh and get a quarterback at number 2 that has a franchise caliber ceiling. So, I mean, the answer to your question is it would take 3 first-round picks, absolutely, this year, next year, the year after that. You're probably talking about another day 2 pick this year, a 2nd-round pick the year after that, and then some sort of day 2 pick, a 2nd or a 3rd the year after that too. Like that's what it would cost for Washington to make it worth it for them to move off of number 2. But even then, just draft the quarterback that you think is going to be good. So that's what I would do.
Right. And that's why you have to sign Kirk Cousins if you're the Falcons.
that's why you got to do it. That's why you simply have to do it.
Because if you pick at 8, man, it's honestly not reasonable to give up all of that if you feel like you could make the playoffs this year. So I think the Kirk thing makes a lot of sense. And we talked about the cap space earlier. Arif Hassan, he did the math. basically comparing like what these Kirk deals are. And he basically got the same deal as he did last time from the Vikings, except the cap's gone up. So it's $45 million. It's $100 million over the first 2 years, and you can get out after 2025 if things are going poorly, which they might. I mean, he did just tear his Achilles. Like, this is not a perfect signing in any way, but you have no choice, I feel like, if you're Atlanta.
But I agree. They're taking the swing. And like when free agency opened, and I think it was Diana Rossini who tweeted out like, oh, like Kirk's already talking to Atlanta, essentially. I had quote tweeted it and I said, like, I have a hard time believing that Arthur Blank's going to get outbid for any quarterback that he wants this year, because the way that it went terribly with Matt Ryan, the way that they went after Deshaun Watson, it sounded like they kind of thought they had him, and then it was just ripped right from underneath them. And then subsequently what happened after that of like, okay, sure, we'll sign Mariota, and then we'll give Desmond Ridder a chance, and like they just haven't been competent and they've been disappointing since. Arthur Blank was not going to put up with it this year. So when you talk about what the price would have been to get up to number 2 overall, I'm sure the Falcons already reached out about that. I'm sure the Falcons already tried to give Washington their best offer, what they were comfortable with, before free agency started. And when the Commanders said no, then they went, okay, empty the bank for Kirk, because we're not doing this again. Like, we're not going into next year, or we're not going into the draft with Desmond Ridder and whoever falls. Like maybe the Patriots will trade back. Like maybe we could get to 5 and draft one of these guys, but it might be QB4. Atlanta was just never going to operate that way. So I agree with you. Like I get that he's older. I get that he's coming off an Achilles, but even a reasonable expectation of Kirk Cousins probably makes the playoffs for this team. So I think the rest of the group is there for that.
At some point, they just had to start looking like a real football team again. They haven't made the playoffs since the Eagles beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl, it's creeping up in terms of the amount of years it's been since that happened. Yeah.
Damn, that's a long time.
That was a long time ago. Yeah.
What, was it 2017?
2017. Yeah, the year after the Super Bowl was the last time we made the playoffs.
All right.
Dude, that Super Bowl was 8 seasons ago.
I feel like I'm in one of those TikTok memes where it's like, oh, I'm so excited for 2020. Happy New Year. And then it's just like all the lights go off and it's like, it's 2024 already. That's how that felt when you said that right there, that it was 8 years.
Because I don't remember. I need to go back and look and see what was happening on that day. But on December 7th, 2015, I should say, I just tweeted out future Falcons quarterback Kirk Cousins. And that was okay, and that was a year before Matt Ryan won the MVP. So that was I tweeted that 9 years ago, which means Matt won his MVP almost 8 years ago. Dude, what the fuck happened?
You gotta quote tweet it and just say never wrong, just early, baby. That's all it is. Right. The tweet. Well, I quote tweeted it with like just early.
I quote tweeted with the meme of Bobby Hill, like with the huge brain and he's floating and stuff. Like
yeah.
I'm the Oracle. We all know.
You can see it.